Well, the topic has become hot again, national divorce. So I thought I'd take another stab at it. First thing to understand is national divorce is extraordinarily unlikely to happen, almost impossible. If it did happen, there's a really good chance things would be worse. And rather than just pointing out the issues, I have a potential solution for it. All right, although there are those out there right now, if you read, there's news stories where some people on the left are saying, yeah, give Marjorie Taylor Greene what she wants. Her and her blue states could just go. But the main thing to understand that these are just academic posers. They're not really people who drive the establishment. They're not the people who make things happen. Okay. So the big issue comes down is the reason why they won't let a large chunk of the country go is, for example, they can't wage war in Ukraine unless they have access to all our tax money. They can't run the security state unless they have access to a proportion of everybody's income. The establishment clearly isn't ready to give up on globalism. They sure aren't ready to give up on the security state. So they're not going to let a portion of the country walk away with the money that they want to spend. Now, one of the things that people don't know much about, because the period preceding the Civil War, the couple of months during the secession period, aren't taught in detail in most classes, or probably any. So the secession that preceded our American Civil War started as a national divorce. Now, they didn't call it that, but that's exactly what it was. Federal troops peacefully left states that had divorced themselves from the Union. Basically, they would wait in their forts till they ran out of supplies. They would exit the fort. The locals would give them food for the road, and they would march back to non-Confederate America. During the period of secession before the Civil War, the bureaucrats of D.C. were working on infrastructure to set up embassies and trade deals with the divorced states, assuming they wanted to come up with peaceful relations as fast as possible. Ultimately, historically, Lincoln blundered by resupplying Fort Sumter, which ended up in turn triggering a civil war because the people at Fort Sumter were initially told the resupply wasn't going to happen, and then when they did, they warned that they would repulse it with force. So either Lincoln or one of his advisors likely knew they were crossing a line, and they turned a peaceful national divorce into a civil war, either by stupidity or purpose. Doesn't matter which, the results are the same. Now, a new national divorce, let's say somehow it proceeds, and you can assume it's probably going to get a sabotage by some other establishment players. This is something they're not going to allow to stand very long. They can't deal with a prolonged civil war with all the problems they've caused around the rest of the world. They're going to bring any kind of divorce to a very rapid, brutal halt. A new civil war will make Sherman's march to the sea look like restraint. So, imagine it happens. Some form of blue-red divide occurs. Well, what will end up happening is all the power-hungry politicians and bureaucrats, the tyrants, the worst of the progressives, will all congregate in the blue government. It will be a collection of the worst. Likely anybody with restraint will be in the red zones. These prog monsters will function without any check or balance at all. These are the same people who love to meddle in other countries' elections. They meddle in their financial systems. They buy foreign politicians, and they buy out the resources out from under these countries. However, now Red America will be the foreign country to Blue America. And instead of being across the world where it will be some difficulty, we'd be right next door. Red America will be messed with unmercilessly. They will never leave Red America alone. Red America will end up becoming vassal states in a position that was far worse than being member states. Alternately, they'll be forced to erect a security state that's every bit as bad as the one we have in the United States of America now. So, what's the answer? The idea is to make an amendment to the Constitution that allows border counties to leave their state for the adjacent state. Right now, the way things are set up, it's really impossible for counties to leave a state because the way the Constitution is set up, in order for a part of a state to leave another state, it requires the state's permission. And this is never going to happen. So we need a change to the Constitution that allows border states to vote to leave their current state and join the adjacent state. Of course, with the concurrence of the new gaining state. Now, if we make it so this can happen, if counties can leave without their state's consent, there will be two possible outcomes. One, blue states will have to moderate to prevent their border counties from leaving. This is a good thing. Imagine if the 10 border counties of California all decide to break ranks and leave. Sacramento would be very, very likely to try to find a way to placate them. The government would become moderate compared to what it is now. There'd be an improvement. The second outcome is that some of these frontline counties will leave. These states that cause the most problems will now lose power in the form of losing land and population. Losing population and land is a win situation. So either outcome is beneficial. It's a win-win situation. Either the states moderate, a win, or they lose land and population, a win. Now, an amendment like this is a long shot, no doubt about it. But it's far more likely than a national divorce going through and being accepted by the establishment. And the bright side is the outcome, if passed, is much surer than the outcome of a national divorce. Counties legally leaving their states aren't going to cause a war to break out. They aren't going to cause they aren't going to be in a situation where they're worse than they were before. Or if somehow they are, there's still a border county they can go back where they came from and the next time they vote on it if they won't choose. So ultimately, this is a far better solution than national divorce. What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. Do you think a national divorce is in any way practical? Do you think the establishment would actually let this happen? Under what circumstance? Do you think this idea of an amendment to allow counties to be able to vote themselves into a new state, not creating a new state, but joining the existing neighboring state, is a functional idea? Tell me in the comments below. Please smash the like button. If you've come across this due to the YouTube algorithm, please consider subscribing to my channel. I do lots of different things in terms of topics. And if you think there's somebody out there who might find this interesting, please consider sharing with it. Well, thank you for spending time with me this evening. Hope to see you again in a future video.